Are you in? Yeah! All right. With that, I am so honored to introduce Mark Carney, the next Prime Minister of Canada and the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much, Thank you, everyone. Helena, Charles. Oh, it's fantastic to be here. Look, I want to start with a question. Who's ready? Who is ready to stand up for Canada with us? And who is ready to help the Liberal Party win the most important election in our lifetimes? That's right. This is going to be the most important. Well, first off, who's ready to make sure that I get elected? Yes, Gary was very good in that very important point first. So I have time to go. But you know, it was just a month ago that I decided to put up my hand, after some advice from Mr. McKay, as you heard. I put up my hand to run for the Liberal leadership. And I did because I felt that we needed to make some big changes here at Quebec. And we needed to make some big changes because of the pressures that Canadians have been under for several years. That's right. Les gens s'inquiètent. Les gens s'inquiètent des crises de pouvoir d'achat, des crises de logement, des avenirs de leurs enfants, le monde plus divisé et dangereux avant les menaces de M. Trump. Canadians have been under pressure, cost of living crisis, housing crisis, concerns about their children, how they're going to get ahead, in a world that's more dangerous and divided, and that's before our allies and friends became just our neighbors. So I felt, unfortunately, and it'll come back, they'll come back. And we're Canadians, and we'll be good when they come back. We'll welcome them back, yeah. So the sense I had, and it's been confirmed from discussions with my colleagues and traveling around this country from coast to coast to coast, is that Canadians want big change, but not just any type of change. Canadians want positive change. Canadians want change that brings us together. And that's what we're offering. You know, all of these people, all of these MPs represented here today and their colleagues, myself included, we weren't always politicians. And in fact, we're in this position because we are pragmatists. Okay? And if we see something that isn't working, we will change it. So I'll give you two quick examples. The carbon tax looks great on paper and had some effect, but it became divisive for Canadians. It became divisive. And so, as practical people, we're proposing, we will, to use a phrase, to borrow a phrase, axe the tax. Axe the consumer carbon tax, axe the tax for small businesses, for farms and others. But because we're liberals and we get it, we don't stop there. We don't stop at making a t-shirt a slogan and a simple change. Because we know that if we just axe the tax, the average family here in Scarborough will be, John, probably $850, $900 short in a year. Big money, real money, at a time when cost of living is threatening. So we're not just axing the tax, we're going to have a middle class tax cut alongside it to make sure that's right. And we also know that in a world that's tougher, more competitive, our big companies need to become more competitive. So we're making some changes so those big companies reduce their emissions, become more competitive, and we're making changes so that if you decide that you want to insulate your home, you decide you want a heat pump, you decide, and it's your decision, that you want a more fuel-efficient car, those companies will pay you. Yes. Not the taxpayer, not the government, but those companies. And everyone will be better off. That's being practical. Okay. Now, I didn't write their scripts, but they said nice things about me before. I'm grateful for that. I need nice things to be said. There's lots of things I don't know. Lots of things I don't know. But my career, my experience, you know, for good or ill, puts me in a position that I'm made for this moment. I have the experience. And I say that because I've had experience, some of it working alongside these gentlemen here, managing big crises. I've had experience building economies. And I've learned a few lessons from that experience. And the first is you never forget where you're from, you never forget your values. Yes. Well, yeah. And the values, I am from Edmonton, I grew up in Edmonton, but the values in Edmonton are the values in Scarborough. Yeah. I know this. The values of hard work, community, tolerance, accommodation, and ambition. You would not have built this great city if you didn't have all those values. The second thing I've taken from my experience is that when you're in a crisis, you need a plan. Plan beats no plan. If you have a plan, it brings focus, it brings discipline, it brings energy, it brings something that people can rally around. And I'm here to say today that the Liberal Party has a plan. And if you return us to government, we will put it in place and it will work. And I'll say a few more words about that plan in a moment. But the third lesson I've taken over the years, and I've worked on both sides of the fence, so to speak, in private markets and for government. And what I've learned over the years is that, well, the private sector drives our economy forward. The markets drive things forward. Markets don't have values, people do. And it's our job, and this is what the Liberal Party can do, is to ensure that the market serves the people, not the other way around. Now I know someone, you've probably heard of him, who doesn't get that. Doesn't get any of that. Doesn't get the role of the market is to serve the people, but also doesn't understand the market and how it works. And I have seen this type of politician around the world. There's no bigger believer in unbridled capitalism, trickle-down economics, slash-and-burn economics than a lifelong politician who's never earned a paycheck, never had to make a payroll. And that's what Pierre Poilievre is. And that is what we are up against. We see some of that in the United States. And I want to say a few words about the situation with the United States. Let's be clear. The Americans want our resources, they want our water, they want our land. No way. No way. No way. Well, let's keep them on the other side of the border. That's what they're going to do. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. There we go. There we go. Canada will never, ever be part of the United States in any way. Because Canada is not a mosaic. Canada is a mosaic. I look around this room. It's a remarkable mosaic. This is the best of Canada. We are all Canadians. We all have different identities that we bring. Same values, same country. But this is Canada. This is diversity. This is Canada. We're a mosaic. They're a melting pot. We're actually thinking about making diversity and promotion of diversity of crime in the United States. No First Nations in the United States. No official bilingualism. Healthcare is a big business. It's not a right. They have a social safety net in the United States, but there's huge holes in it. Tens of millions of people fall through it every year. They don't look out for the vulnerable like Canadians do and a Liberal government does. No, Canada is not the United States. But we have, not for our asking, we didn't start this, but we have a fight with the United States. And the question is, what are we going to do in that situation? Now, when you're in a crisis, another lesson is you think about what you can control, what you can influence, and what you can't control. And President Trump is somewhere between what you can't control and what you can potentially influence. No, some of the measures, and I think part of what we need to do to influence the President is to show respect, as the government has, for some of the issues that he's raised. So we think about the crisis of fentanyl in the United States. It's a tragedy in our own country. And it's entirely right that we bear down on prosecuting these opioid labs. It's entirely right. It's entirely right that we secure our borders. And by the way, we need to secure our borders with the United States given their immigration policy. Or de-immigration policy, I guess. We will also, though, fight this crisis in a Canadian way with compassion and going to the root causes of this crisis. Now, so that's what we can control, maybe have some influence. What can we control? We can control our economic destiny. We are masters in our own house. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. On peut contrôler notre destin économique ici au Canada. Yeah. And not only that, but by doing so, we can take advantage of an America that's turned in on itself and is trying to turn back the clock. We can leapfrog America in many of the key industries of the future. We can build not just a stronger Canadian economy, but the strongest economy in the G7. And that is what we're going to do. So, let me just make 5 quick points on how we're going to do that. I said plan beats no plan. This is the core of the plan. The first thing is we need a government that works for you. We need a government that works for you. We need a government that spends less, but invests more. In other words, a government that helps build millions of homes. A government that helps build new energy infrastructure, clean energy infrastructure, that builds new industries. A government that helps build new trade corridors for new trading partners. That's what we can do. The second thing I mentioned earlier is making sure that you can keep more of your hard-earned money. And that's why we will deliver middle-class taxes. That's why. And I'm pleased to see lots of young people here. That's why we are going to deliver a direct boost to younger Canadians so they can catch up to what we've had before. Absolutely crucial. Yeah. That's why. I'm going to get to seniors. I'm working my way up. I'm working my way up. I'm going to spend a little time with the youth first. The third thing is fundamentally about building this great country. Okay. I mentioned housing, I mentioned energy and others. Part of what we need to do as a government, is speed things up. We have the right ideas, but we're not working fast enough. So we are going to use our extraordinary powers to speed the building of this great country and move forward and take advantage of this period of time versus the Americans. Fourthly, we need one Canadian economy, not 13. Charles Sousa knows this. He's fought for this over the years. Dafka knows this. We are going to convene the first ministers within the first few weeks, around the middle of March, to discuss how we accelerate this. If we just have one Canadian economy, it will have a bigger positive impact on all of our economic futures, on future jobs, on income. That will more than swamp anything that President Trump would try to do to Canada. We owe it. And the fifth big thing we're going to do economically is we're going to stop putting all our eggs in one basket. We are going to diversify our trading partners with like-minded countries that share our values, countries that when they sign a trade agreement, honor it. Don't let it up every 5 years. That's what we're doing. There's one other thing we need to do, which is fundamental. In fact, it's the most important role of government, which is to protect the people. And Bill Blair is here, the Minister of Defense is here. He's protected citizens in all of his roles in his entire public service. He's always protected them. And we know that there's more to do to protect Canadians in a more dangerous and divided world. This isn't about some arbitrary number or percentage. It's about making the spending and investments to protect our country. From the 49th parallel, all across the American border, to the hierarchy. Protecting us in here. So we are going to accelerate the timeline that we increase our spending. I'll give you a percentage, 2% of GDP, military spending. But part of what we're doing, and Bill and his colleagues are doing, is making sure as much of that spending happens here in Canada, where it belongs. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to write checks south of the border to someone who's using economic force, to use their language, against us, right? And it does make sense to protect Canadians, but protect Canadians in a way that doesn't just bring security, but brings prosperity to our country. And that is what we're going to do. Okay. Last point, and it's a fundamental point of why I'm a Liberal, why I'm proud to stand with them and proud to be with you. I am going to focus almost exclusively, not exclusively, but almost exclusively on the economy, getting our economy back on track, building our economy, okay? And we want to do that for the jobs it provides today and the futures that it provides tomorrow, absolutely. But we also know, and you know it here in Scarborough, you know it as part of communities, that there are vulnerable in our society. We know we have a responsibility. We live up to the responsibility of the vulnerable in our society. We know that if we don't have a strong economy, we can't protect. We can't have the health system that we deserve. We feel that here in Ontario now. Some of it's mismanagement, some of it's because we don't have a strong enough economy. We know we can't build the social safety net that we need. We know that we can't ensure that our seniors receive the payments, their OAS and GIS, that they deserve. We know, and senior debt, we know that, yes, that too. We know that we know that we can't build a more sustainable Canada. We can't redistribute what we don't have.
That's fine.
We can't be strong abroad if we're weak at home. We can't build a future if we can't manage the present. With your help, we can return a strong Liberal government that will do all of those things. Thank you very much.